But the key map that I'd like to put before you today is the map produced by the official mapper on the diplomatic mission, Lieutenant John McCartney's map. That is a huge table-sized map, not a fold-out map from a book. It's a map that differs from Elphinstone in so many ways, both in terms of format and in terms of content. And what we have to appreciate from that is that there are two people, Elphinstone and McCartney, who use the same data collected from a range of local translators, interpreters, guides, and informants. Colonial knowledge is dependent on local forms of knowledge. These two individuals have the same information at their disposal and produce radically different maps based upon that information. Now, the most important difference is embedded here, where Elphinstone prioritized and privileged Pashtuns to such an extent that Pashtuns become almost symmetrical with Afghanistan. And if I could just sort of, again, rhetorically argue, it's unclear to this day how Pashtuns and Afghans are related. That's actually such a contentious and actually violent sort of problem that we need to reckon with of colonial origin. So Afghans and Pashtuns become near symmetrical, Kabul and Afghanistan become near interchangeable. And what the expert mapper on the mission concludes is, as we can see, there is such a substantial difference between Afghans and Pashtuns that they get mapped differently. Afghans are different than Pashtuns for the master mapper. And again, we have all kinds of contradictions, all kinds of inconsistencies, gaps in colonial knowledge formation. And just to be very clear, the map of Afghanistan as we know it really took shape in about sort of 20 years between the late 1870s and 1893, when the Durand Line kind of concluded the mapping of Afghanistan. Again, Afghanistan as we know it is entirely a colonial construction. And there are multiple colonial and imperial powers involved here. The Russians, Iranians, Ottomans, as well as the British and Afghans. And so mapping itself is quite a complex and international affair when it comes to Afghanistan. I realize I'm running out of time, so I want to jump somewhat quickly to images and how incredibly enduring some of these images of Afghanistan are. And what Orientalism is all about is, again, that power to represent, the power to represent other cultures and other colonial experiences through visuals. And colonialism also involved the cultural consumption of the colonial object. And so Afghanistan really got consumed in England and the British media through various kinds of publications. And again, there is so much visual evidence in English media of Afghanistan. I'm going to end, because I know I'm basically out. There's so much that we don't know about Afghanistan in terms of ranges of study. The history of technology is one of them, and I want to put the history of the wheel in play for a moment. The bicycle arrives in Afghanistan through Abdurrahman's primary contractor, or technocrat, Sir Salter Pine, who brings the bicycle to Afghanistan. And I just can't emphasize how critical wheels are. There's also a history of the Gadi, how the Gadi came to Afghanistan. And what we see here is an unpaved road, and the issue of pavement and the issue of concrete. When did Afghanistan and Kabul become concretized? So the history of technology is, I think, another major area where we can advance our understanding of Afghanistan. And I think maybe I'll kind of leave it at that. apologies for going over.
Thank you.